Welcome, Colonel McKenna and team. Today we are presenting our acquisition strategy for the Insider Drone Intelligence Initiative. When looking at this challenge, we immediately recognize that we are not simply buying a piece of hardware, however, we are actually architecting a complete system of systems. And to illustrate this, let's look at our operational view or OV1 diagram. At the edge on the left, we have the most critical node, the untrained civilian operator. Because they are operating covertly in a high-risk environment, their controller is simply a discrete smartphone app. That app commands the physical drone node, a low-acoustic, highly stable quadcopter. The data captured by that drone must traverse a secure, encrypted data link back to our DoD analyst hubs. Finally, because we have zero military footprint in country, the entire system relies on this covert logistics network, utilizing local key contacts to distribute these modular spare parts. If any one of these nodes shall fail, the entirety of the system will fail. Therefore, our acquisition strategy must protect this entire chain. Now, to physically acquire this system, we evaluated three distinct pathways against the iron triangle of cost, schedule, and performance. The first option we looked at is utilizing a commercial off-the-shelf, or COTS or COTS, drone. While COTS provides immediate availability in low-cost units, it introduces unacceptable supply chain vulnerabilities, and it truly does lack the military-grade encryption required to protect our civilian insiders from the interception. The second option we reviewed is a custom defense solution built by a traditional prime contractor. While this does guarantee security and intellectual property control, relying solely on the consolidated defense industrial base means we are bound to legacy serial acquisition processes. Put simply, it will simply be too expensive and it would take far too long to field, risking the loss of this intelligence opportunity that we desperately need. Therefore, our definitive recommendation is our third option, and it's going to be a joint partnership between a commercial drone manufacturer and a traditional defense supplier. We believe that we must merge these rapid mass production capabilities and the user-centric design of the commercial sector with the more rigid, highly structured protocols of a traditional defense contractor. These defense primes ensure that our encrypted data links and supply chains are actually locked down and secure, while the commercial manufacturers ensure the drone is highly usable and fielded quickly. We acknowledge that bridging commercial and defense corporates these different type of cultures, and they will be very complicated that we understand. To mitigate these risks and to force a little bit more of the collaboration, I believe we will incentivize a partnership using a fixed price incentive contract. We will provide a firm baseline profit, but then the joint venture will only unlock maximum financial bonuses for these individuals if they successfully integrate their teams to deliver this system on their budget and ahead of schedule. This ensures the contractors remain laser focused on our primary goal, rapid and secure deployment. Now I believe I'm going to hand it over to Diamond to detail the specific acquisition pathways and the user-centered design required to actually make this a reality.
This approach works best as it is a rapid prototyping and rapid fielding pathway. In this specific scenario, it dictates an immediate, urgent need to gather data before the opportunity is lost. The MTA pathway often bypasses the traditional bureaucratic requirement process, allowing the program manager to field a functional operational capability within 5 years and ideally much faster. In order to ensure accurate user feedback, we would have frequent tests by team members and users not related to the development. By choosing people who are not experts in the tested area, we can replicate how a user with minimal training might approach the product. It can also help our team members better understand other parts of the drone to get a better picture of the whole project. In order to maintain security for this project, we must carefully regulate the sources of components, mainly critical hardware components such as rare earth magnets and circuit boards, which will help to prevent hardware backdoors. We would also use a DevSecOps pipeline. We would make sure security protocols and encryptions are baked into the program from day one, rather than added on later. The system should also be able to continually monitor against unauthorized network access and data poisoning. When deciding the partnership the DoD should use, we decided that the MOSA style would be the most appropriate. This is the Modular Open Systems approach. By doing this, the DoD would be using multiple different generally manufactured items to put together the drones. This would allow for easier updates and fixes for the civilians using the products to do, and it would also be less suspicious if someone were to find it. It would be much harder to trace the parts back to the United States because anyone would be able to get them on the market. This is also known as plug and play.
Now, to pick it back up from Abigail, there are a few requirements that the government must have in order to ensure that the drone they're contracting for is actually successful. Firstly, it needs to be functional. They need to make sure that it can withstand up to 50-mile-an-hour winds without being damaged whatsoever, and also needs to be quiet enough not to be heard by the people that you're actually listening to. Additionally, regular people have whatever phone they're able to get, whether that be an Android, an Apple, or Samsung, and it needs to be able to pair with the drone that is being utilized. The drone also needs to be able to have a kill switch. It needs to know that, like, if it's going down and something's happened, it needs to delete everything that it has access to. It should also be constructed with commercially available materials to be as unsuspicious as possible. Lastly, the payload and rotor arms should be utilized as standard MOSA interface, so that way you can continue to plug and play.
Lastly, the drone should be designed with the modular open systems approach in mind. This is so it can be as updated as quickly as possible, and it's much more integratable with everything else that you would be working with. In order for the drone's design to be as efficient as possible, you'll need a few different fields represented in the design team. Firstly, you'll need an aerospace engineer to help design the drone itself. Next, you'll need a software person or cybersecurity engineer to help work with the compatibility of making sure it works with other phones and isn't super traceable. Next, you'll need a contracting officer. This person will help moderate between the government, the known defense partner, and the new person that you're trying to work with. You'll also need a logistics and sustainment specialist to ensure the life cycle of this item is as long as possible. You'll also need an intelligence analyst to ensure that the data that you're going to be able to collect from the drone is going to be useful. Lastly, you'll need a financial manager because no product can be designed without money in mind.